Our feature story this week starts in the dining room of a retirement village on the Hibiscus Coast north of Auckland and ends up on a banana farm in rolling hills further inland. As I found out, it's a chain of people, food and compost helping to nourish the soil. It may surprise you to know that diners at this retirement village north of Auckland are helping to grow bananas and fatten cattle a few kilometres away. I'm here with Betsy Kettle, who helped set up the City to Farm project 6 years ago to keep food scraps out of landfill and use them to build fertile soil on farms. Just about to head into the kitchen here at the Evelyn Page Retirement Village, and I'm putting on my hairnet.
So the kitchen here in Evelyn Page is getting ready to put lunch out, so they're very busy right now. But you can see that they have been putting their food scraps into this wheelie bin. And the bottom of the wheelie bin has woody mulch and biochar in it. And those are both important parts of the Prakashi process. And when this bin is full, probably by the end of the day, it'll get sealed up and put down into the basement.
Dylan Hatt is the senior lead chef here.
So it's convenient for us. We like the idea that it's not just going to, just straight to waste, but it's good that someone's using it for something.
What's in there at the moment? Looks like a lot of porridge.
Yeah, bit of porridge, bit of toast. So it'll fill up. That'll be the stuff from breakfast that wasn't used. So
What's that?
Sort of wood chips. It'll nullify the smell and the process of it decomposing or whatever.
How often do you have to put those in?
Every day. So we'll cover it every layer once the bin's full. Send it down to the garage, and yeah.
So truly not a problem for you guys?
Not
here.
a problem, not a major, no.
City to Farm is diverting 15 tonnes a year of food waste from this retirement village alone. It's one of 25 collection centres providing scraps to the project. Here's Betsy Kettle again.
The food scrap project started when Auckland Council put out a request for proposals for community groups to take on commercial food scraps. And our community group, Hibiscus Coast Zero Waste, put up our hands, not quite knowing what we were going to do, but we did. We got a grant, and then the process was on of how to, now what do we do? So we approached some other people in our permaculture group, Phil and Jenny Granger, and we said, we know you have bad soil and you want to improve your soil. Do you want to try this? And they said, oh yeah, we'll give it a go. Thinking that it was only going to, 6 months and it'd be over, and now 6 years later.
Hi, I'm Jill. I'm the village manager at Evelyn Page. Been here almost 7 years. So it was great to be able to start this project that was seen in the local paper, and one of the residents brought it over to me to have a look at, and took a life of its own from there with the support of Ryman Head Office and the sustainability team. It means that we know our food scraps are going somewhere and they're being used and not just being thrown out. Yeah.
Does it create any extra work for you?
No, the team have got into a really good system, so they have different bins and the different units, so the food scraps in one bin, the paper in the other, and so on. So there's no extra work. It's just it's so routine now. That's just what we do because we've been doing it so long. Yeah.
So do you create a lot of food waste?
Not generally. We have a really good food ordering system where each resident gets to choose their meal, their texture, the size of the meal. So there's not a lot of food waste.
Yeah. But you want waste to give to these guys.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. We don't want to blow our budgets out, but we also want to support. So it is a win-win, but yeah, potentially not as much waste as there was previously.
Okay. One in each ear. One in his mouth.
Hello, who am I speaking to?
Kevin.
Kevin, hi. How long have you been resident here?
8 years.
Do you know much about the initiative here, the food scraps?
I know that they're all collected and turned into compost and used for banana palms, growing bananas.
And what do you think of the idea?
I think it's a darn good idea. Why put it into tips when it can be used, recycled?
Did you compost when you were living in your own place?
Yes, we had our compost bin, put it on our veggie garden.
The residents have been to see the results too, including Sue Hoy.
Well, we were very lucky to be able to go to the farm and actually see where the food scraps ended up. So it was a wonderful experience for us to realise that the food scraps from here are being reused, so there's no waste.
We leave behind the chatter and the clatter to see where the retirement village's scraps are stored, fermenting over the week until a truck comes to collect them.
Down into the bowels of the building here, and we're in the room with all the wheelie bins and the big trash compactor. And once upon a time, before the City to Farm project started, this space smelled because all the food scraps were going into that great big compactor over there, and they had problems with flies and odors. And so we said, well, look, come see our system. And this is our system over here with these funny wheelie bins with the seals and the straps on them.
Oh, we've opened the lid. There's a lot of waste in there.
We don't call it waste.
You don't?
No, These are resources. These are valuable on-farm, to-the-farm resources. Because as soon as you call something waste, it is waste. I'm trying to find an empty one here, but see, tomorrow is when the truck comes. And so it's possible we don't have any empty ones at the moment. I wanted to show you how we have a layer of woody mulch and biochar in the bottom. Too bad you can't smell through the microphone. But this would have been full, but then the bokashi process breaks it down, so it settles.
We'll be talking about the bokashi process a little bit later, but I can see in there a mushy heap of fermenting stuff.
It's very gloppy, yes. But if you can imagine, we've got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 bins here. And so we divert about 600 kgs a week of food scraps from this village alone.
Diverting food scraps from landfill and putting them back into the land means cutting the amount of methane emitted into the atmosphere. That's a greenhouse gas which contributes to climate change. We're going to see how it's used on farm in a moment, but next stop, a country school, Wainui School, where the project has been part of, well, a movement almost, lately run by 4 dedicated Year 8s.
My name's Ariel.
My name's Madison.
My name is Morgan.
My name is Leah.
Do you have a special name for this team of bokashi makers? It could be the food waste busters.
Like the retirement village, they also use the bokashi method, where the food slops are sort of pickled in closed containers with an additive called zing.
We introduced, classroom by classroom, food scrap caddies and a little stand to put the food scrap caddies on that would also take the paper and the hard recyclables, called a resource recovery station, and talk to the children about the link between food scraps in the landfill, greenhouse gases from the landfill, and instead using those food scraps and the biochar to build topsoil, which is a carbon sink instead.
When we started it, we kind of just, we didn't really know what to think of it. We kind of just, did it, and we were sort of ooh. But now we do it, all the time, and we do find it cool. We find it fun. We learn new things all the time.
With masks and gloves on, the girls get into gear. They pick up the small food scrap caddies in each classroom and empty them into a larger bin in the school's recycling hub, an enclosed area to the side of the playground. They tell me this method is an ideal way to recycle the food scraps because it doesn't attract rodents.
What have you got there?
We've got some food scraps, so it's a banana peel, 2 apple cores and some mandarin skin.
Is that about normal for what you would collect at this time of day?
Yep, about that.
Oh, not that bad. It kind of good.
Yum! This is a food stamper, so if there's lots and lots of food in the bin that needs to be squashed down a bit, you squash it down with this, like a broom handle with a wooden block on the end.
The school also uses this rich fertiliser in its own vegetable garden, part of its long-running garden-to-table programme. So the more scraps, the better, which means bringing the other school kids into line sometimes.
We remind them what goes in the bokashi bin, what they can and can't put in the bin. So,
What are they not allowed to put in?
any liquids such as yogurt, juices, that type of stuff.
No whipped cream.
And no whipped cream, no meat.
Because the meat can make maggots grow.
And it's gross.
And it will attract more rodents.
Yeah, and obviously no rubbish. So we just, if someone does something wrong, we remind them that that they can't put that stuff in the bin, and we tell them what they can and can't put in the bin so that they know for next time.
What you could do is bring them here and they could smell it. That would really put them off.
That's a good idea.
And now once you've spread you've pushed it down a bit and spread it around.
You put the zing in.
There we go. And then we close it.
And then you close it, and that's...
And lock.
And then you lock it so that the smell doesn't spread, and so that it breaks down. Easier.
Straps are going on to hold it tight.
And there we go.
And then we take that bin to wash, we hose it down and then we shake it, and then we put it back in the bokashi station.
Important for it to be clean.
Yeah. So that it doesn't
go bugs and attract rodents,
and so that it doesn't go mouldy, because that's not very good.
And absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So should we do this now?
All right.
All right, Mrs. Spray, we need you again.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm ready.
Wait, Ariel, Leah, come back out and we'll take a photo out here with...
Okay.
Nick Watton is the teacher in charge of the project.
Our goal is for our students to be, sustainable and environmentally responsible. And I think this, starting with the girls, is a way to sort of embed that in our students and in our culture as a whole. Like they said, I think it's become, over the last 4 years, normal for us. And I think when we see our year zeros from 4 years ago as year eights, it'll probably be fully embedded, because for 8 years they've been a part of this. And I like the idea that we can put some in the garden or some into our growing worm farm, and then some back to Betsy, back to the farm where they can use it to improve their soil as well.
Now to one of the farms where the food scrap fertiliser ends up. 32 hectares on hills a little bit further on from Wainui School. Former dairy and kiwi fruit farmers Phil and Jenny Granger live here off-grid, overlooking their growing banana plantation, which feeds off the food scrap fertiliser. Betsy says the Grangers have been involved from the start with City to Farm, devising systems as it's gotten bigger and bigger.
Suddenly we moved from collecting buckets of food scraps from a few restaurants to needing wheelie bins. And then the trailer wouldn't work to collect the food scraps. Then we needed a truck. So Phil and Jenny were great. They went out and got a truck. And then we couldn't pull the wheelie bins across the paddock. And then it was like, Phil and Jenny came to our rescue again. And they got a fast feeder to put on their tractor. And their tractor was able to take a cubic meter of food scraps all at once and spread it down the swales all at once, and then spread mulch all at once. And of course the swales started soaking in the water, and that was when we saw the real changes.
It's raining and we're under umbrellas. Well, we're just coming through now into the banana grove on your block here. You can see it through. What's in front here? This is your veggie garden.
Oh no, this is veggie. So these are all kumara, we grow all our own veg.
The banana plants grow on berms on the side of ditches, the swales that Betsy was talking about, which capture rainwater.
We live off the land, literally. And so we don't know where the world's heading, and I wanted to leave this thing for our kids, right? Come in here, another COVID, lock the gates. Doesn't matter what happens, you've got power, you've got water, you've got food, you can hang out here forever and you'll be fine.
The clay soil, which once repelled water, is now rich and moist and wriggling with worms and organic matter from the food scraps which arrive weekly by the bin load.
Going down forever.
Worms.
Yeah. Wow. Look at all the worms.
Unfortunately, I've never stayed. So. Like, when we first came here, there was hardly a worm on the place. Right. Every time you dig into this, you'll see, and
worms
look at the
everywhere.
topsoil was about virtually non-existent.
And so how are the food scraps applied?
Initially, it was having a car trailer trying to unload these wheelie bins and tipping and mud and stuff, and it was disgusting and terrible. But I had an old egg tractor, and we bought a fast feeder. But of course, it was a struggle to get down swales, and we had to have the rows too far apart. So Jenny insisted we buy an orchard tractor. So we've got a nice little New Holland fruit tractor, and we have a fast feeder from Otrahonga with great machines. We go down to what we call the jetty, where it's a big stand for all the wheelie bins.
Yeah, I saw it as I drove on up here.
Yes.
A sea of wheelie bins.
Right, so we've got this sort of docking station. So we actually have a little tail lift truck that goes out and collects the food scraps. So he can just drop his tail lift onto the docking station to run wheelie bins on and off the truck effortlessly. And then we back up the fast feeder to the docking station, and we've got one of these little Simpro bin tippers, wheelie bin tippers. And we just tip the bins of food waste into the fast feeder. And then I rip up the hill and come along here, press the lever, and the chain drive drives them all out as we run along. And we do a quick rake over to get them relatively flat. And then we go scoot back to the mulch pile, pick up and drop the fast feeder down so it can back into the mulch pile, pick up a load of mulch, and then we can sprinkle it over the top. So it's so easy. And these swales here, which look like at ground level, they've actually had over 1 metre of food scraps put on them.
They sit there and they sort of basically ferment for up to a month, because we only do it basically once a month, don't we? And we're picking up food scraps every week.
So plentiful food scraps mean plenty of bananas.
We had just a few metres, right, of these few bananas here. And then we thought, oh, we've got more pups, we better get bigger. We've got more food scraps, we better get bigger. And we got bigger and bigger, and then we thought, oh my gosh, we've got a commercial size orchard. Now what do we do?
Yeah,
we're going to have to be commercial.
So you were persuaded by Betsy to get involved and prove...
Purely to sequester carbon into the soil and keep it out of the landfill.
She hadn't thought, okay, what happens at the other end? And it's like, we've actually got something, we've got to do it.
Now we have to become commercial banana growers.
We weren't planning to become commercial banana growers.
When we've had a bit of a flush of bananas, we box them up and we send them back to the early childhood centres who love them, and we sell them to them as the drivers picking up the next week's food. So
it's really cool because these little wee bananas are great. They love them.
The fruit also ends up in Jenny's banana curry.
Oh, this looks good.
We're in the big farm building, around a long table, where a range of people involved in City to Farm are ready for lunch, including Betsy.
What is your prime motivation for the whole thing?
I'm trying to address climate change, and I'm trying to encourage everyone that has land that they could turn into a carbon sink. France has something called the 0.4% program, where the entire country, all the rural land, is being encouraged to sequester, to store at least 0.4%, which isn't very much, of carbon per year in their soil. And in doing so, they basically negate all of France's annual emissions. And I look at New Zealand and I think, geez, if we were to really get serious about this and use biochar and do start diverting all this organic matter that the city produces onto rural land, we could potentially start reversing climate change. We have to turn off the fossil fuels. We have to stop that. But we also have to get it out of the atmosphere. The farmers would be heroes. They'd be climate heroes.
How big can you see this getting?
Well, it doesn't take very many farms to take a huge amount of food scraps. We could easily divert all of Auckland's food scraps. I think my husband worked out on about 400 hectares. Well, 75,000 tons, half. It's more of the political will, I think, to do that.
How many tonnes do you think you've collected over the life of the project?
It's not that much, 350 tons. Relative to the huge amount of organic material that a city like Auckland produces, it's, a drop in the bucket. It would need to scale up. We have to convince people that they need to keep their food scraps out of the landfill, and we have to convince them to pay because we have to charge. We have to pay our driver and for all the materials. So, but what would really help would be an organic ban to landfill of all organic matter. No more food scraps in the landfill. This is a way for everybody to participate in climate action with their food scraps, just sending them off to the farm.
Betsy Kettle of the City to Farm project run by Hibiscus Coast Zero Waste. Betsy is a trustee of that charity. They pick up waste from schools, kindies, retirement villages, cafes and restaurants in the local area. And there's more information and photos on our website, rnz.co.nz/country or Country Life.